Welcome to There's No Place Like Home, the radio show coming to you on WRXB 1590 AM and Pinellas County Connection TV. This program is presented to you as an opportunity to hear information that can help you fulfill the dream of home ownership. We also share information about upcoming special events and programs to help you enjoy the good life here in Pinellas County, as well as other items of interest. The sponsor of this program is the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County, which offers the First-Time Homebuyer Program, your key to home ownership, helping people in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make their dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Jane Merlin, your host for today's program, and my co-host Frank Bowman is off today, but he'll be joining us again next month. Today's topic is about the home buying process. It's one of the largest purchases you'll ever make, and there's a lot to know about buying a home. We're going to discuss ways to make the process a little easier for you, so please make sure you grab a pen and paper so you can take some notes. Joining me in just a few moments is Carmen Lindberg, Program Administrator with Pinellas County Community Development, and she is a returning guest to No Place Like Home, and it's always great to have her here and give us the great information about this very sometimes confusing process. But before we get into the topic, I have a message from our sponsor, the Housing Finance Authority, or the HFA. The HFA is offering its First-Time Homebuyer Program for individuals in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties who have never owned a home, who have not owned a home in the last 3 years, or veterans. The HFA offers a great rate on its Home Key Mortgage, which is a 30-year fixed rate. And if you need a little help with down payment and closing costs, they can help you with that too with the Home Key Second Mortgage. The Home Key Second is available in Pinellas and Polk counties. To get all the details on this program, call 464-8210 or visit the website at pinellascounty.org/community/HFA. And to reach us for more information or comments about the show, call us at that same number, 727-464-8210, or email us at housingfinanceauthority@pinellascounty.org. You can also catch past shows by logging onto the website, and you can even see us on YouTube. Now, if you already have a home, this is a great reminder to let you know that it is hurricane season, and right now, Pinellas County, for a limited time, is offering a hurricane mitigation grant. This grant will help you harden your home. It's a good time to replace roofs, get impact-resistant windows, and replace exterior doors. And if more work is needed, you might also be able to get a low-interest loan program. The funds are limited, as I say, so please call today at 464-8210. And the grant program provides up to $20,000, and once again, that is a grant. And the other program, the low-interest loan program, offers $20,000, and it's a 0% interest rate. Another great opportunity for people to fix up their homes, especially during this time, hurricane season. Well, now, it's my pleasure to welcome our very special guest, Carmen Lindberg from Pinellas County Community Development. Welcome back to There's No Place Like Home, Carmen.
Oh, thanks, Jane. It's always a pleasure to be here.
We're delighted to have you, too. You know, as I mentioned earlier, buying a home, probably one of the most important, most expensive purchases that you're ever going to make in your life. What is it that makes us feel so scary when we're thinking about buying a home?
Well, you know, the whole process is scary. We get into it, it becomes long and involved, and all the questions and all the different things you have to look at. And if you aren't prepared and you aren't ready, it can really be too stressful for you. And I think a lot of people turn away from that because they start into it and it's much more than they expected, and they just quit the process and don't continue. And I'm hoping we can help them understand the process and move forward.
Well, it can be kind of an overwhelming process because there's so much paperwork involved and so many details that you have to be able to provide, and looking back at past records and things like that. What would you say is the first step somebody should really think about before they make this venture into buying a home?
Well, the first thing I always encourage people to do is sit down and take a look at your budget. What are you currently spending for rent, on utilities, your credit card payments, your car loans, student loans, everything. Look at your entire budget and make a target about what you are comfortable with for a house payment. Start there. And then that will guide you throughout the next parts of the process about where you're comfortable and what you think you can afford.
So really you need to do a little bit of homework before you're going to start and kind of look at where you're at and what you think you're going to be able to handle.
Precisely.
Now, let me ask you this. We talk about on this program before the homebuyer education classes. Tell us a little bit about those classes and what people can expect if they attend.
Those classes are wonderful. And first thing I would recommend is after you sit down and figure out what your budget is, get enrolled in one of these homebuyer education classes, because it is truly going to tell you how to develop a real budget for owning a home, how the process works from beginning to end. So you're going to know what to expect, questions to ask, and the whole thing. It's an 8-hour class. It's a lot of information, but it'll give you an introduction into what you're going to be getting into.
And I know that those classes are actually free.
Yes, they are.
And I believe that some are offered on a Saturday or some might be offered in the evening. So there's really some flexibility there for people.
There is, and they can log on to the HFA website and they can get a class schedule for some of the classes that are offered here in Pinellas County and pick something that's going to fit their schedule, be it evenings or weekends.
That's a really good point. And if I recall correctly, that schedule is up for about 3 months. They give you 3 months worth of class schedules.
That's correct.
Now, credit is sometimes the real challenge for individuals who are trying to buy a home or try to buy any kind of an item on credit. What are some of the issues that you see when people are trying to buy a home?
People need to be very aware that when they make a late credit card payment, a late rent payment, anything, that this impacts their credit. So in preparation for buying a home, they need to make sure that they're making all of their payments on time. They're not going over limit on their credit cards. They're not having any overdrafts at the bank. That affects you also. And pay your rent. Make sure your rent is on time, because if you're a renter going into buying a home, they're going to pull a rental history. And if they see that every single month your rent's late, that's really going to hurt you. So make sure, get yourself prepared to start paying attention to how you're paying your bills. Make sure you're not getting behind. If you do, medical expenses, they can mess everybody up. They're unexpected and stuff. Make payment arrangements immediately so it doesn't hit your credit as a collection. And if something does hit your credit, you need to write a letter of explanation and send it out to all 3 credit bureaus and get that put on your credit so that when somebody pulls your credit, they're going to see, oh, this is what happened. This is why it wasn't normal. And then they're gonna take that into account when they're looking at you.
And I think we've all had those unexpected medical expenses, and it does seem like they come out of the blue sometimes, and it can really mess you up if you're not careful, as you say, and make those calls ahead of time and
Exactly.
work out the payment schedules. I want to talk a little bit about FICO score. This is the credit score that the lender is going to use when they're looking at your ability to repay the loan. What is the FICO all about?
That is how the credit scoring companies, there's 3 major credit scoring companies, and they look at your credit history. They look at the depth of your credit history, how many accounts you have, how you manage those accounts. And then there's a score that they give you. Usually each one has 3 scores, a high, a low, and a median. And the banks look at that median score. And what most banks are looking for right now is a minimum of a 620. The higher your credit score, the better interest rates you're going to get. And when you're buying a home, the less you're going to have as down payment. It really affects your entire life, right down to credit card rates, car loan rates. Everything in your life is affected by your credit score. So you really need to make sure you're managing your credit properly.
Okay, so let's say I'm going in to look at one of these programs and it's going to require a 620 FICO or credit score. And I'm under that. What do I do? How do I get it to come back up and over that number and get a really good credit score?
Well, what I strongly recommend for people is there's several opportunities within the county where you can get free credit counseling. I know that through one of the agencies we deal with, we have a home buyers club where they take somebody whose credit is below, and then they work with them to get it up. And it may take anywhere from 6 months to a year to get your score up, but they're going to work with you side by side, tell you what you need to do, help you to get your credit up to where you can then come into the market and buy a home.
So 6 months to a year to get your credit score in a good place, but that seems like such an important investment of your time.
Oh, it is. And they'll help you to understand how your credit works too, which is so important. And once you get your credit score back up, barring any unforeseen things, you can usually keep it up once you understand how it works to get it there.
And I think sometimes we forget that, we've had guests on the show before from Extension who've talked about financial classes and the budgeting process. And I've jokingly referred to, oh no, now I have to do homework, to do this budget. But so important, isn't it?
It is. It is your everyday life. Whether you're a renter or a home buyer, you really need to have a budget every month. And you need to understand where you're spending your money. If you're running short, why are you running short? Are you eating out too much? Are you buying too many coffees? Are you going to the movies? And sometimes we have to take out some of that fun stuff to keep our credit cards up, use our credit cards less. If we can avoid using credit cards, that's the best. But sometimes we can't. But if you sit down and understand how you're spending your money and you actually write it down, sometimes you're going to be surprised at how much money you spend on something that you weren't even paying attention to. That $3 cup of coffee every morning, that adds up to a lot of money. That's, $15 a week. Times that by 4, and you're looking at $60 a month on coffee. Make it at home, $8 for a huge thing of coffee, and you get 300 cups of coffee out of it. Works.
And it's so interesting when you actually put things on paper and have that in front of you to really I'm a visual person. I can hear all these things, but I need to see it and put my hands on it. And so when you see that list that shows you exactly what your expenses were and how you've spent your hard-earned money, it's really an eye-opener. And there's so many programs available on the computer that you can actually put this information. It's not going to cost you anything, especially if you're pretty handy and can use Excel or Word and create your own program.
I use Excel every month. I have a little Excel spreadsheet. I put in there what all my balances are on all my loans, and I decrease them every month as they go down. But then I also have, for every paycheck, what I'm paying out of that, what bills have to come out of that, what I'm paying for prescriptions, what I'm putting into savings, everything. It's all on this spreadsheet. And every pay period, I go through, I update everything. When the bills come in, I make sure they're updated in there. And it's just helped me so much to keep very much on track with my budget and make sure I'm not having a problem.
Very good idea. Let's kind of move out of the money part for a moment, and let's get into this process of buying a house. You and I are both homeowners, and we have used realtors in the past. Let's talk a little bit about realtors, and is it important to use a realtor, or can you just do this on your own?
Oh, please don't try to do it on your own. Realtors understand the legal process. Not only will they help you find a home and the right home, but when it comes to writing that contract to protect you, you've got to have a realtor. Unless you are very experienced or you're going to use an attorney, which is going to cost you a lot of money, use a realtor. That's their job. And it's also important that you find a realtor that you like and you can work with and that's going to work for you.
Very good point. And I know that in the process that I've gone through, it's a very complicated maze of paperwork, and they know that stuff like the back of their hand. And so I always say let the experts do that part.
Exactly. Let them do it. That's what they're there for. And it gets paid at closing, so it's not money up front out of your pocket. They're getting paid by the seller, actually, to help you buy the seller's home.
Now, Carmen, I know that you have had previous experience as a lender. You have actually been on both sides of this equation. So that's why it's so exciting to be able to have your knowledge right here so that we can learn all this stuff. What, in your opinion, are some of the biggest mistakes that we make when we are out there trying to buy a home?
Some of the biggest things that people do is they either change jobs right in the middle of the process. They go out, all of a sudden decide for some reason they need a new credit card, a new car, and it totally mess up their employment history and their credit history. Once you decide to buy a home, don't make any major purchases, no major expenditures, and please, unless it's absolutely unavoidable, don't change jobs all of a sudden. If you're going to, if you have a layoff or something, well, that's different. And if you need to get reemployed right away, that's fine. But so many times I've started down the process with people, get them all qualified for the mortgage. Right before you close, everything is re-verified. Your credit's repulled, your employment is verified literally 72 hours before closing. And I've had people I call to verify their employment. No, they've been gone for 3 weeks. And I was calling the borrowers and saying, why didn't you tell me that you weren't employed? Oh, yeah, I changed jobs. Well, that stops everything right there. Literally, it blows your closing out of the water. And you have some legal obligations and timing you have to meet as far as interest rates, your sales contract, everything. So once you start in that process, if you change jobs, certainly keep up with your banker. Let them know, because then they can just verify everything, have it in the file, because your income's going to change. Everything's going to change. If you want to buy a home, don't make any major purchases. You're going to be spending a lot of money on your new home when you buy it. Just because you get into it, you're going to have a lot of expenses that you aren't going to know about until you get into your house. Little things like the shower rods, the curtains, all of that stuff that you just don't think about, because once you think the house, you're there. But you have a lot of expenses. So don't go out and spend a bunch of money before. Save all the money that you can so you have funds available for when you're done with the purchase.
So if I were in this process and I go out and I'm at a store and they're going to offer me 10% if I open this credit card today and save on my purchases, and I open that credit card, I just lowered my credit score. Is that what you're telling me?
Not necessarily lowered your credit score. What that's going to affect is what's called your debt-to-income ratio. Because what the banker is looking at is how much debt you have out there in proportion to your income. And they have gotten very strict about the ratios. And if you are outside of those ratios and you open one new little card, even if it's a $500 credit limit, that can be enough to blow your debt ratios and cost you your home.
Very good thing to keep in mind. Just say no.
Just say
no. Now, I think it's important also, we were talking earlier about the credit repair and the organizations that can help with that. And I want to really make the point that there is help out there at no cost to you. You should not pay somebody to help you repair your credit.
Exactly. My philosophy is, and maybe there are honest companies out there, but my philosophy is if they're asking you for money to help you, they're crooks. Go to one of the free people. They are the ones who actually give you better advice and truly help you. Most of the ones that say, oh, give me $1,000, I'll make all your problems go away, you never hear from them again and you never get your money back. And you just lost that money and your credit is still not where it needs to be.
Good point. Now, let's talk about home inspections. That's something that takes place in the home buying process. Where does that come into play and how does all that work?
That is so important on so many levels. After you have looked at the home and you have written your offer, your sales contract, one of the first things you order is the home inspection and the appraisal. The home inspector is going to go through the house. He's going to be looking at the roof, the electrical, everything, and he's going to give you a report. And you have to look at that report very carefully. He's going to tell you your roof life that's left, if there's any problems. He's going to be looking at the foundation, if there's any bad foundation cracks. And in your sales contract, it should be written, and this is something you need to make sure your realtor writes in there, that if the home inspection comes back negative, you have the right to cancel the contract. But you need to go over that from top to bottom. If you have questions, you need to talk to your realtor, you need to talk to the home inspector, you need to find out exactly what the implications are of the things they found in there. I went to one house that I was going to buy. I did my own visual inspection first before the home inspector got there. I missed the foundation cracks. Now, if cracks are in the foundation that are up in steps, kind of following the blocks, that's fine. These cracks were going diagonally across all the blocks. That's bad. Walk away. Foundation cracks, you don't want to go there.
So that really saved you a lot
yes,
of money.
It did.
Now, would you have even been able to get a loan at that point? with that in the home inspection report?
Now, let me tell you that depends, because that inspection report is yours. It doesn't go to the lender unless they want it. But usually, like right now, most of the loans are what's called FHA loans. Now, FHA has a special appraiser that comes out to look at the house, and they are looking at much more than a regular appraiser. FHA requires appraisers to look at a lot of these things, and they may catch a lot of these things in the appraisal, which goes directly to the bank, and that could stop your loan also. If the house doesn't pass appraisal, then it's no-go.
Very important information, Carmen. One of the things I always think is really confusing is, you've got so many people out there. There's a lot of really great realtors. There's great home inspectors. There's great lenders. How do you pick the person who you are going to have help you in this process?
That is absolutely the hardest thing. First thing I tell people is if you have friends who have recently purchased homes, talk to them. Ask them for a recommendation on a realtor and how they like them. Once you get to that realtor, a lot of times that realtor knows a decent home inspector and will work with you on getting in contact with them. Again, also talk to your friends, talk to coworkers, see what they have. Lenders is also hard. Now, for our program, you need to go through one of the lenders that's approved for the HFA program. But if you're out getting a mortgage on your own, not going through our program, I tell people start with where you bank. Most big banks have a mortgage department, even credit unions do. Start there because you have a relationship with them. They know you. That's going to help you. If you don't have that opportunity through where you bank, again, go back to your friends, go back to your coworkers and get on the internet and do some stuff. There's a lot of the big, I call them the big box banks, that actually have no origination fees. That's something that you need to be aware of and to add costs onto your loan. So you need to do a little bit of shopping and talking. And if somebody found someone they're really happy with, that's a good place to start.
One of the other big things that we need to keep in mind when shopping for a home and a mortgage and all that, and just the overall expense of a home, is property insurance.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Oh, my is right. Talk to us a little bit about what we need to be looking at when we're getting into the stage where we're going to buy our property insurance.
This gets very complicated for the average person, and especially here in Florida, because we have very, very high insurance rates. And I know last year when I was out looking for a home, the first thing I did, I went out onto the property appraiser's website and pulled up the house I was looking at. And I looked at what the current year's taxes were. I looked at whether the house was in a flood zone or what evacuation zone it was. And then I called the agent and I said, here's the house I'm looking at. Can you give me a ballpark idea on the insurance? There were many houses that between the taxes and the insurance, I never even bothered to look at because those two items alone threw me over budget, and I wouldn't have been able to afford the payment.
I think that's a very important point to make, and that is that, as we talked earlier in that whole budgeting process, finding out what your expenses are and how much you're willing to, use on a mortgage payment, all of those other things that come into play, but you've got an opportunity for the virtual world that we're in, that you can go online and get so much of this information ahead of time.
That's true. And it takes a lot of time. And if you're looking for a home, you need to be willing to invest that time yourself. No one else is going to do that work for you. But it's worth it, because then you can find a home that you want, that the insurance is going to be where you need it to be, and the taxes are going to be where you need it to be, because your payment includes the principal and the interest on the loan, plus the escrows for the taxes and the insurance.
Now, one of the things that's not included in the mortgage payment that you make is the regular, routine, ongoing maintenance.
And, I find that to be the number one biggest problem for new homeowners. They're used to being a renter where if something breaks, the water heater goes out, they call the landlord, hello, come fix my water heater. Well, you're now the go-to person. Your water heater breaks, someone throws a rock through your window, the wind blows some shingles off your roof. You have to fix that, and you need to be prepared to have some money in savings to fix that. A water heater, if you have a plumber come in and do it, can easily run you $1,000 to $1,200. Even if you're doing it yourself, you can still plan on spending $300-400 just for that water heater and then your time and labor to put it in.
And there's all these other just routine maintenance that you have to do, with the lawn mowing and all of the tree trimming and removing that debris and painting inside, outside.
Exactly. You need to maintain your investment and you need to keep your home in good order. I say that people need to be house proud. You just spent a huge portion of your money on something. You need to keep it up for two reasons. Let's say you're young and you're just starting out and you buy a small house because it's maybe just you and your husband. Well, then down the road you have one kid. Okay, you've got room for one kid. Well, then you have another kid. Suddenly your nice little house doesn't fit you anymore and you need to start shopping for a new house. Well, if this house is in disrepair and the yard's all junked up and the weeds are all over the place, you're not going to sell it. So if you keep the house up, people are going to come by. They're going to say, oh, this is a well-maintained house. You're going to sell it faster. And especially in this market where it's very difficult to sell a home, you need to do everything you can to protect your investment so that you can move up if you need to.
Very good point. There's so much to this process.
There is.
From finding, identifying your budget needs and your requirements to finding the lenders and the realtors to work with, and then protecting the investment at the end. I know that the county has a great program, the Homebuyer Information Program. Tell us about that and how people can get involved with that.
They can call the 727-464-8210 number. They can go right online, and that site again was Pinellas County /community/HFA. You find the H called HIP. And you can sign up right online for it. They're going to send you emails, timely information. They're also going to keep you up to date on any special homes that the Housing Finance Authority has coming onto the market. We have a lot of homes that are coming out due to special government programs like the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, things like that then we let you know about. Any special information, and we're going to send you periodic emails about it, keep you up to date on things, and just helpful things for the potential homeowner.
I think it's a great program, and there's no cost involved at all. It's just you sign up and you receive emails and occasionally a flyer.
And no junk.
Exactly, and it's all related to people who are looking for information about, these are potential home buyers and they're looking for updates on special programs, as you said, or maybe a home for sale. So it's a really worthwhile resource.
It is.
And what one last piece of advice can you give somebody who's tuning in right now that's just thinking about buying a home?
Now is a great time. Think about it. If your budget allows it, move forward. It's a good time.
And we can call you for advice if we need to, right?
That's right. That 464-8210. Ask for Carmen. I'll be happy to help you.
Carmen, thank you so much for your time this morning to share these great tips with us. I think that I certainly learned something every time we do this show, even though I have been a homeowner for a number of years. And I have to say, I wish that I would have known about the homebuyer education class when I was buying a home.
I wish I would have, too, for the first one I bought. But, it's a great pleasure to be here. Anytime you want me back, just ask.
Oh, you got it. I want to thank Carmen for joining us today. Carmen Lindberg with Pinellas County Community Development. I also want to thank our great producers here at Pinellas County Communications Department, and of course our friends at WRXB 1590 AM. Be sure to join us again next month. Our topic is going to be on consumer protection, and you don't want to miss that. I'm Jane Merlin, and Frank Bowman will be joining us again next month. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's no place like home.